screw it. I'm starting a little early because I can. Ooh. Whop. Cool. I'm gonna slide this over to here. And pop Discord up so I can keep an eye. Oh. I'll pop this screen up. I'm a fool. Alright, that's why I need 3 monitors. Alright. I'm gonna actually hit the start button. It's an important button to hit when playing a game on stream. So, I'm gonna preface this with I have learned a fact. I was perusing the Miitopia wiki to see what changes had been made between Miitopia 3DS and Miitopia Switch. And I'm looking at their events page, which included the horse events. And I see that the horse that they had was just a freaking Rapidash. And I went, no! I'm unoriginal, it seems, but that's okay. I never claimed to be original. Oh yeah, you can't. He's too full. His tum too full. All right, so basically, the plan for today's stream is to kind of proceed through more of this game, as I guess any Miitopia stream would be. But basically, we're currently in the 3rd world, and we literally just got a little bit ago our last character being Calamity Ganon. So he's the last addition to the team that we've had. Other than that, you know, we actually, I believe, made pretty good progress last stream, because last stream started before I was done with Neksdor, and I plowed through all of Neksdor and far enough into the 3rd world, just one of the longest ones to get all the characters in, and I was able to get all the characters, so I did a ton last stream. Let's hope I can kind of keep up some of the pace, because, you know, other games are coming down the pipeline from Nintendo. And if I'm doing like 1 stream a week of this, like I've been streaming this game since it came out. God, man, that's... When did it come out? Wait, let me see, what day did this come out? What was the release date? Miitopia Switch release date. That was... No, not the original Miitopia. Switch Miitopia. May. Has it really been that many months? I mean, I guess I did take some breaks. But, you know, this game, I've been streaming it a while. And other games are going to come out eventually, and I want to be able to play those games when they come out. Because let's see, how many streams of this have I done? Let's see, dude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is what, stream number 8? That is 2 full months worth, plus breaks. So I do want to progress such that I can kind of, you know, be ready when other games come out. Because the next ones that come out that I'm going to be doing on this channel, whether or not Miitopia is done, I'm going to switch over to it. So I don't want Miitopia to be completely just stopped in its tracks, but there's a chance that happens. Because in November, I'm going to be starting up playing the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond playthrough that I'm going to be doing on this channel. So, you know, that's going to be its own big kind of series You know, and I don't want it to like completely basically kick this one out of the focus and then it never comes back, you know? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, my goal is to basically finish this game over the course of the next like 2 months, which I am on pace, I think, to achieve, so long as, you know, I actually do keep the pace and, you know, don't stop streaming for too many lengths of time. And I guess one option I do have is if this series starts to get closer to that deadline, like say in October, I'm like not certain I'm gonna meet my goal deadline, I might just start doing this stream on my kind of off day streams as well. We'll see what ends up happening on that. But we got hobgoblins. Hey, Calamity Ganon already doing some work. Also, what am I doing? I don't even have my chat up. Here we go. That's better. That's better. Now I can keep an eye on the chat. See when a message comes in here. Usually it shows up on my phone, honestly, faster than it shows up on the streamer, like the streamer screen that I get. It's kind of funny, but I guess that happens, you know. It's crazy. I've played so far into the post game in the other one. I found out all the stuff that I haven't yet done in the post game. That's why I was checking to see the differences, just to make sure that I knew what things I was kind of missing. But I now know. I basically have to re-beat the final boss because I didn't save him, which I did in my original playthrough of the game. I didn't do it in this one. So that now that I know that that's what I need to do. That's kind of my plan, is to re-beat the game so that I can get the towers. Because I just finished all of the post-game stuff other than the towers, pretty much. There's enemies I haven't fought yet, but the reasons I haven't fought those enemies are like... It's literally just like, oh, this enemy I have not fought because I got to the point in the game when you can fight it too high of a level. Because my main character was a higher level, and if I switch jobs, he'll switch to a lower level, and then I can take on those lower level ones. But I don't want to switch jobs at this point, but I'd have to do it. So I don't care about that. I just kind of want to beat the things, you know, progress through the full length of the game. But man, the Dark Sun, legitimately one of the most challenging bosses. That thing is a straight up puzzle game to fight. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It is, you're literally, every action you do has to be very well thought out. Like, there's so much tactics involved in beating that boss. It's nutty, but I was able to pull it off. Basically what I did is I planned it out. I did a few side quests from the Traveler's Hub. I did some side quests there, and then like such that I would kind of level up my characters some, and I would do that with like a focus team that I knew that was the team I wanted to fight the Dark Sun with. Which basically got them experience, got them weapons, got them armor. I focused exclusively on their weapons and their armor when I was buying things during that time, even playing the roulette during that time for the most part. I was very careful about it all. And then in the end, I think it came down to I basically, after doing all those side quests, I had one side quest left, and that was one that involves assisting the youngest Fab Fairy. So I had her as a bonus character in my party at the level that she would be, you know, to assist with a level 41 quest. And then, so I basically had a 5-man party, one of which can't be attacked. And she was, like, super useful, because she was providing a little bit of, like, it was, like, 100 extra damage per turn, which, like, isn't a lot, but on some of the turns in that fight, you can't really do a lot. So just having someone to kind of be that focus can be extremely useful. And then, yeah, so I had her. I had my characters basically as powerful as possible, and after all that, I was finally able to beat it, and I almost didn't. That's the other part. I almost didn't beat that boss. I kind of had a moment where I'm like, all of my team, their health is pretty low. But I can max my MP and use Horse Whispering to heal my entire team fully and put them all in a good mood, which is the best status condition possible. So I did that, and I annihilated. Like, literally, with that running, my warrior character got 2 horse mount attacks in a row. Each one dealt 750 damage. So I did 1,400 damage over the course of 2 turns. And yeah, it was insane. It was honestly probably 1,500 damage, because it was like 740 each time. It was crazy how much I was able to pull off. And those 2 turns literally turned it around, because otherwise that amount of damage would have been turns and turns, because it was at that point where I'm like, I just have to keep people healed, keep people alive so that I don't die. I was out of sprinkles for health. Like, it was tough. Yeah, it was. I don't know how, like, this game, when you start this game, it is not that hard. Like, trust me, this is easy. Like, this is like a baby could play an RPG. But then you get to the late game and it is insane. It is absolutely insane. I would like to get, yeah. I was gonna say, I would like to get this dandelion. There you go, piranha plant. Yeah, you can get leather armor, Ganon. I feel like the red fits the most on the leather armor. But, yeah, this game, like, I think it's deceptively cute and goofy. You know, it just kind of... You never look at it and go, oh, this game is going to be a hard type of game, and it's because it doesn't look it at all. It looks like it's going to be something that's ridiculously easy. It's just, I don't know, it gets pretty tricky at times. And I'd imagine if you play through this game like without, basically 100%ing each of the paths, this game's a lot harder. I feel like this game, part of its difficulty comes from the random nature of it. Like, all of the AI, they'll do things that, like, they won't do stupid things, but at the same time, they won't do necessarily what you would do. And so it's kind of hard. It adds a random factor to trying to coordinate and trying to plan how you're going to play through the game. Fiend. I don't have those sprinkles yet. I hate this. Don't you get in the way. Oh my god, you're gonna get in the way. Alright, well, I'm alive now. Yeah, the fiends take the most damage from bonking. Because basically the way they have them do as much damage as they do is they have an extremely high magic stat, which also means if you use a magic move against them, you do like 1 damage pretty much any time. The only way you do more is like, say you have a character who's feeling like happy, like the nice feeling, or they're what's the word? They've been praised, basically. Yeah, like if you've praised them, that I think triples your damage that you would do, but it does so after the damage is calculated. So if you would normally do 1 damage, you now do like 3. You know, it's not like it triples it and then calculates. It's like, oh no, it's still 1. Or like, oh, now it's 2. Like, it guarantees you 3 damage to be praised. I think also lowering an enemy's guard does that. I don't know if those 2 effects stack, though. I'd imagine they do. It's just probably rare to get both going unless you kind of go in as a character yourself who can lower an enemy's guard. So, like, if you're playing as an imp, I think you could pull that off. But ooh, I like having big sections for weapons or armor. Here you go, Rizio. No. Gold. 570, 210. Well, he gets priority, but I can get both. I can still get both. I think that fits Calamity again slightly more. But yeah, I'm actually almost to the point in the game. I have 1 character class that, or actually I might have 2. No, I have 1 because the other one, he has like 1 more beforehand. I'm almost done with one of the weapon paths. Like, I've almost gotten the last weapon, which is crazy. I haven't seen what it is yet, but I know it's coming, you know. You get the cake. I also found out how the food works in this game. I don't think that was on stream. Yeah, basically the way the food's randomized in this game is based on when the character was made and the Mii's facial features. So if I had 2 of the same character using the same version of the same Mii, they would have the same food taste. If I had 2 of the same character, but I had never, but I made the exact same faces, you know, like I made the default Mii, and then I made a default Mii again, they would have different food taste. So it's kind of a multi-level randomization. Which I kind of like. No, Rizio. Stop it. Go in your corner. Okay. All right. Nice. Yeah, I just want to get Calamity Ganon to be at the level of the rest of the team, but that doesn't take too long in this game. Gold. Gold. Yeah. Stealing my phone stand. I see. Ah, this is why it's gold. Gold snurps. Easy. I think gold snurps in their default state give you what, 500. Okay. I was gonna say 5,000. I'm like, no, that sounds too big. That's a quarter of a rich snurp right there. No way, it's 5,000. Yeah. Oh my god, 4 outing tickets. Okay. We take those. It's a 1 in 4 chance. We'll see if we get it. Nope, but we got the food. So that's not too bad. Royal roast is fine. What do you think of the tiers? What do you think of the roast? What do you think of the roast? Oh, no, I have roast yet. I have roast yet. What do you think? Okay. You appreciate it. New tank, yeah. I guess that was the one we had a like 1 in 4 chance to get, so might as well get it actually now. Honestly, I feel like the pastel colors in this I'm not as big a fan of, especially for the tank. When I think of a tank, I want it to be like something that has a distinct visual look to it, you know? And I feel like pastels, at least on the way they have the tanks in this, I don't like as much. Because most of the tanks in this are like oversaturated, and then those ones feel just undersaturated for it. Alright, we got a banana. Alright. I'm going to continue to kind of boost the rating between these two. One of the things I kind of wish this game had, even if it was something you had to unlock, would be a way to have one additional room in the hotel. Like this tall room, if it could be split into 2 at some point. Like you could upgrade the hotel in the post-game, because you have access to 2 more classes than you have characters. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like I would prefer to have a little bit more. As far as like options on that goes. Because like as it stands, I always kind of feel bad because I have two characters that I used throughout my entire main playthrough just sitting in the inn. Or not sitting in the inn, sitting in the like villa.
Oh hey Jordan.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I am progressing.
Playing Miitopia, right?
Yeah. Just sending Calamity Ganon on a bunch of dates. It's fine.
You know, I mean, good for him, right?
He's making friends. He's
like
riding
he's
horses.
Evil. You know, like he might be evil, but that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be happy, right?
Well, he's got a little fuzzy bee suit. How could he be evil?
Genocide, but we're not going to get into this again.
What? Fuzzy bees can't commit genocide? That's not possible.
Anyways. Oh yeah, so I just I went through the first level of Psychonauts 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like it's really good. Like really really good. Because it's like playing through Psychonauts 1 was really fun. It's like, oh, I can see why people really like this game. Like parts of it, at least like the controls for sure didn't age super well. The art styles were fine because it's a very like stylized.
Yeah, it's like it's an art
It's
style that like it's almost overly detailed, like kind of like how Brawl did that, where it feels almost grimy in its detail. But at the same time, that's its style, and so it like actually pulls it off, and it doesn't age as badly as like something that doesn't go for that.
Like Psychonauts, I would say it's kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas kind of like art style, right? Creepy and kind of gross, but like very stylized, very very stylized. Yes, and so it doesn't age poorly. It works really well. And then so like the graphics. Yeah, like because it was like a PlayStation 2 game, right? So the graphics weren't the greatest, but like it looks really nice. So, but yeah, so like I played that and like I had a lot of fun with it. And like the only thing that like I think aged poorly was like the controls, but like I could totally see why people like really love this game. Like the story was great, the characters were great. It was just like it does a lot of really imaginative stuff too, with like like you're like running around inside people's like heads, and so like. Like the level design is really creative in that. And then so I was playing through Psychonauts 2. I played through the first level and I was like, oh, this game's great. It's so good. Like the controls, it's like just Psychonauts 1, but like the controls are so much nicer.
The controls don't feel old.
Yeah.
Like it's just they took the ideas and then they made it not aged.
Yeah, right, yeah. And like they did more stuff with like worrying about like there's like a really nice like little intro where they talk about like, oh hey, like if you like the story of this game talks about like mental health and issues and like ultimately like,
I'd heard that they had that like disclaimer.
Right. And, like I like that because like it shows that like they're putting more thought and care into like the mental health aspect of the story, which is like of the game, and like that's really awesome because it's one thing that they do pretty well, especially for the time for Psychonauts 1. And then so to see that like they're continuing to like put that at the forefront of their game is really awesome for Psychonauts 2. Like they don't like hit you over the head with it. Like it's not like, oh, about her feelings. It's like in a subtle, humorous like way, which I really like. The art style is amazing for Psychonauts 2. Like they kept the same art style, but like with better graphics. It's like running in the Unreal Engine, and it looks so good. Because it looks so good pilot, like they did a really good job with it.
It's always good when they like preserve an art style pretty well, because like it's when you can pull that off in like a sequel to a game, it kind of has that feeling of like it looks like how, especially if you played the game a while ago, you remember the original looking, and so it keeps that consistent. It's like what they did with the Incredibles, like from the Incredibles 1 to the Incredibles 2. They like redesigned all the characters slightly, but they honed in on the art style further and just made it look better. And I never knew that they changed some of the characters. And then I saw like a comparison between them. And I was like, yeah, it was like just startling how much they changed, But like in a way that I wouldn't have noticed, even having watched the first one, not as a kid, like having watched it like a couple years before. I saw the second and I didn't notice. It just looked good.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so good.
I like
to do that.
Cool because it looks like the way that like playing through Psychonauts 1, I was like imagining, because I played through Psychonauts 1 pretty recently actually. And that was like my first time playing it. And like I was playing through it, I wonder what this would look like if they did a remake. And like that's exactly what Psychonauts 2 looks like. It looks like awesome. What I imagined Psychonauts 1 would look like if it was remade today. And it's like, shit, this is amazing.
That's good.
Like, seriously, if they just like remade Psychonauts 1 in this engine and like literally didn't change a single thing, like that game, like I'm sure people would love that game.
I love when you can have games that do that, where like, you look at it and you just go, man, what if the original was in this too,
Yeah,
Like that, I had that exact feeling with like when I first saw Paper Mario Color Splash. I was like, what if they like remade the old ones in this engine? Because like Color Splash had an amazing engine. It's basically the engine that they used for Origami King, at least as far as like, the assets go. Like they're very similar, and like it's a really good art style. Like it looks really good. And now if they took that and put it onto like the older games, I feel like existing fans who had really liked like, the N64 one and like Thousand Year Door and stuff would like love it. Like just imagine like a Paper Mario All Stars game.
Yeah, dude.
Which Nintendo would never, but at the same time, that'd be sick.
Yeah, I mean, I would just love like a Paper Mario, like a remake of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, like, cause like that's the thing too, is like Paper Mario Thousand Year didn't really. It's not like it aged poorly. It's like the graphics still look amazing, cause like it's such a
strong style,
right? It's like it looks good even today, running on a GameCube. Right?
It's like Wind Waker. The original Wind Waker looks so good on GameCube still. Like it's a little blurry in the distance, but like it's because it's 480p. Like,
it's like Wind Waker HD is weird because it's like, did we really need an HD version?
I think the only thing I really was like not a fan of with the HD version was how much they did like with bloom and other like less cell shaded lighting, because it feels like slightly different from what it's supposed to be.
Argue it looks worse, which is stupid.
I definitely think there's parts that look worse. But like I really love like the Swift Sail. I love having the menu on the gamepad like for your items and stuff. That's
those are all, like,
so nice.
Right?
Yeah, it's like the mechanical differences are the only things that make it the definitive version for me.
Right? But it's like you get rid of those mechanical differences and like the art style, like I feel like you could argue that like people would prefer the original GameCube style because it doesn't improve it that much.
Yeah, I think that's what I liked about Skyward Sword HD is that they didn't break the art style. You know?
Skyward is really good. And also too, like, there's a lot of reasons to remake Skyward Sword. Because like Skyward Sword I think definitely like suffers because it was a Wii game, right? Like you could this would look so much better if it wasn't, running through running on a Wii, right?
Yeah. Because I think it's like its max resolution is limited because even at least if you play it on if you played it on a 4:3 TV, the max resolution is tiny because it's a game that forces 16:9. So if you play it on like an old CRT, like I did that when I played it for the first time, I was playing it. I think I forget what it ends up being when it's 640 wide. I think it's 360p. It's like I played the original Skyward Sword at 360p as a kid because that was the resolution of playing it on a 480p CRT because it squishes it to 16:9. So you have black boxes and it's like letterboxed. It's such a weird decision for a Wii game.
But yeah. But yeah, like like Skyward Sword HD was definitely like the HD aspect of it is like good, right? But like, especially since Skyward Sword wasn't like this, like it wasn't as hyper stylized. But yeah, like Psychonauts, like the Psychonauts 2 is good. It's like it feels good to have like this kind of upgrade to the engine, to the graphics, to the controls. Yeah, and it's just like the level design is so good. I love like just wandering around the levels and just looking at all the little details and stuff. It's great. Like I was like the first level. The first level is like you're inside the mind of like this crazy dentist, and so like they even have like a big warning in the beginning of the game. Like if you have like dental phobia, you might have problems with this game.
That's awesome.
Right, and I was like, how bad could it be? I got to the first level, it was like, oh shit, yeah. this would creep someone out pretty hard.
I feel like that alone Lynn would hate, because he's not he doesn't like dentists, and so like
Right.
yeah, it's nice that they have that warning for people, because like that's
Yeah.
a pretty obscure phobia that like, well, a lot of people
Yeah.
have it. It doesn't get like talked about. It's not like
It's-
arachnophobia.
Like, to put it into perspective, there's a door where it's like a mouth that's closed shut, but it's a zipper. So you have to unzip the person's teeth to open up the door.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's
That's
really bad.
so weird. Oh my god.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's really cool. I love it. Because, like, it's a really good opening, too. Like, the opening is like, you're working in, like, some weird office building. It's like, wait, what? This isn't Psychonauts. And then, like, you go to, like, that's not how it, like, opens. But
Mhm.
that's, like, how the level starts out. It's like, you're in some office building, and you're, like, talking to, you know, the other character, and you're like, oh, yeah, let's go. We have, like, a meeting we have to go to or something. And like, what's up with this, right? And then, like you're at like the meeting with everyone else, and Shasa's like, okay, it's time. Like, it's time to announce like the employee of the year, and it was like, oh boy. And then like the dentist guy, and it's like, oh, it's the dentist guy, it's him, and everyone's like, oh, and you're like, wait, what? Because he's like the bad guy. And it's like, all right, I just need you to like get approval from your boss. Yeah, just sign here with your boss's name. Or, you know, go meet your boss and get him to sign it. That'd be great. And then you're like, oh, I see what's going on. Right? It's just like you're inside his head and you're trying to get him to like tell you who his boss is. Right?
Interesting.
It's a really clever way of opening that. And then like you sort of follow him around, and then like as the dentist guy slowly realizes like what's going on, like the world around you changes from like this office space into like this really creepy like inside of someone's mouth, and it's so good.
That's awesome. I love when games do, I don't know, like inside of a body, like dungeons and like levels, because those are always so creepy and like well designed. Like I loved like the inside Jabu Jabu's belly in Ocarina of Time, like how you'd like slash the wall and it would like react, and it was like it was so weird and gross, but at the same time it was, because of that, one of like the strongest designed levels. Like there's just so much thought and care put into like how they laid it out, because it's the inside of a body, or like
Right.
you know, kind of like anything where it takes that kind of like internal structure of something, even if it's as like, you know, like sort of vague as like, you know, it's a dentist, so it's just a mouth, you know, that it starts
Right.
to become.
And it's like, it's really cool because it's this weird mix, like this surreal mix of like you're in an office building but also inside someone's mouth. I feel like there's this one
That's
room
awesome.
That, like it's like, you know, like one of those big like you know, like office meeting rooms. You have like a super long table with all the chairs next to it, right? But then like as the table goes on and like as you like walk down the room, it like turns into like a tongue, and like all the chairs turn into teeth, and like you're like opens up into like this like the open end of the mouth, and it's like it's so cool. And it's just like they like do so much like really cool stuff like that. It's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so like I can't wait to play more of this game. It's gonna be so sick. But I'm taking a break because you're streaming and I wanted to chat with you.
So I had a moment in this that I laughed at when it happened, because it was I have Among Us on my team. You know, I have the red guy from Among Us, and
Right.
he got made evil by like because there's like a way there's certain enemies that have like a corrupting effect where they make it so that your character will have like a kind of like cursed aura around them, and they'll have like little demon eyes. And then if another character tries to do stuff, they'll like try to sabotage them. And I was like, oh no, it made him sus.
I get it. Yeah, that's fun.
I was just sitting there like, oh man, that I was just like, I never thought that effect would happen in this area, and so when it happened, I was just like, oh my god, that's perfect.
There you go.
God, stop leading characters astray. Handsome Squidward, stop it.
Are you fighting handsome Squidward Owl?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Alright. Wait, why are you... Oh, dang.
Yeah, that's like one of the strongest attacks that the tank class gets. But it comes with the added problem of it increases like the Quirrell meter, which is like an invisible stat until it's full. But like as characters get more and more annoyed with each other, eventually, and sometimes it just randomly starts up fully, but in battles, like certain moves that like hurt your teammates or like that use your teammates in ways that they don't enjoy, boosts like a meter that eventually makes them have a quarrel, where the one will be mad at the other, and so they'll like sometimes like if the other one does really well, they'll get just mad and start doing stupid things, or like they'll get distracted because they're too busy grumbling to themselves, and so they take extra damage. And it's like the only way to like reduce it is to either force them to room together and like have it reduce by like a third every time you go to an inn, or to have it like where you basically just have like, you know, if it's a one-sided quarrel, the other one might still help, or if it's like, you know, one's a healer, they can heal, and like anything that would boost a relationship normally lowers the quarrel a little bit instead.
So Tingle and handsome Squidward are sisters?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does. I forget who the other one is. Because there's 3 sisters. So there's one yet to be seen. I mean, I mean it's been on stream, but it hasn't been like in game, I think.
Wait, is this Ganon the one from like the Breath of the Wild, or the one from?
It's Age of Calamity. It's like it's basically Ganon given a humanoid form again. Like,
so is Ganon like before he commits genocide?
It's after the Calamity, kind of, but before the full effects of the Calamity. Like, he's basically taken the castle, but because of the time travel shenanigans and stuff,
so he
hasn't fully destroyed everything.
But he was planning on committing genocide.
Yes, yeah. Honestly, the only reason he fails is because of the divine beasts. Because you use them to kill literally tens of thousands of his monsters at a time. Like, I think there's literally one where you kill 15,000 like enemies.
So it's kind of this dilemma of like,
oh no, ragged armor.
You know,
Curses.
you're gonna commit a crime because we're from the future, and you also were like halfway through committing that crime, but you didn't technically commit that crime because we stopped you from committing the crime.
And
but also, like, fuck you for committing that crime.
And part of it is also like Calamity Ganon didn't really fully do it himself. Like, he was brought back by just some asshole. Like literally he was just a fortune teller. And a small piece of like Calamity juice got into like the body of one of the like Terrico like mini guardian things. Like, I think it was like that world's version got possessed, and so the fortune teller basically just started worshiping it, and then as a result he ended up basically forcing more and more of like the Calamity Ganon energy into it, and then eventually it gets like destroyed And he's like, well, that's okay. I'll offer you my body. Like every stupid person who meets Ganon does. And then he gets consumed and turned into an amalgam of, like, Guardian tech, Ganon goop, and freaking asshole guy. Astor, that's his name. Knew it had ass in the name.
Alright.
Yeah, so it's literally just like... It was basically just a dude found an evil guardian and was like, yo, this some Ganon stuff. He must be coming back. And then he, like, did everything he could to bring him back. As horrible prophets do.
Seems like just such a convoluted story.
Well, the thing is, Astor is actually, in Breath of the Wild, he's the one who he predicted that the calamity would happen. Like, they talk about, like, a prophet who predicted it, and that is Astor. But it only happened because he fucking did it. Like, he's like the worst fortune teller ever because he just did it himself. Like, oh, the calamity's gonna come back, and then he just goes, yo, Ganon, come back. It's like, dude, that's you. You did this.
I mean, if Babe Ruth points out to, left field and hits a homer in that direction, is he a fortune teller?
No, he just
He's
did
just
it.
Real good at baseball, that's what.
Yeah, so it just means, like, Astor's just really good at bringing back literal demons, basically, because that's practically what this version of Ganon is. He's just a demon. Just a swirling mass of evil. Oh, is it dance time? I guess, yeah, that's right, Roadhog was the young one. Roadhog was on the streams. That's right. The sisters have to dance. This is an oddly long scene. I don't know who decided it needed to be this long, and it happens twice.
Well, I mean, they spent all that time working on it. Might as well do it twice.
I guess. It's just like, why does it need to be so long?
The east gate opens.
They are fools.
Door, ladies.
Oh, he even called them fools.
You've been a great help. Fools. Dude, I feel like that's the best, like, evil person insult, is like, you fools!
Honestly, it is. It's just every time a villain goes up to someone, points at them, and goes, fool! You're like, oh man, he evil, huh?
Ah, fuck, he got us. We are fools.
We did fall for his tricks.
Shit! We could have!
So, who are the other bosses that we've got now?
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's like in Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, when you open up the little chest, and then the little curse monster guy's like, ha ha, you fool, I got you. And you're like, ah shit, you got us.
Ah, cool, I get to fight All Might. Nice.
No, that's not All Might, that's Toshinori.
Ah, yes, you're right. I get to fight Toshinori. These three... I think they're Rolf, Hank Hill, and C-3PO. They're going to be a boss. Who are you? Oh, Hamtaro's a boss. Dang.
Steve? Wait, Steve is from Minecraft, Steve?
Yep. Blah.
Boy.
Things are quiet. Jeez, Steve! There's no monsters around. There's no monsters around. He can sleep. Alright.
Alright.
So we've got Toshinori to the left. I might get him first, just because. It's just over here. I think that's... Or... Is it lower? I don't remember. He's somewhere on the left side. I'll find him eventually. Yes, tomato time. I love tomato time.
Tomato time. More like...
Roasted tomato time.
Oh shit, get wrecked.
Also, I found out whoever's images of the horse are on the Miitopia wiki also made Rapidash. But their Rapidash is worse. The fire looks like shit.
Oh, they did not get like a good... Like...
They used the same, like, you know, hair pieces for it, but the colors they chose are just so dull. It doesn't look like flames. It's like...
Let me look for this. Where is it on?
It's just like the Miitopia wiki. It's like Miitopi Wikia or something like that. Is the... Or, no, it might be a fandom wiki. Whatever fandom.
Yeah, Miitopia wiki. We're looking for horses?
It would be... The ones that I saw specifically were on their events page, which included the horses pretty high up. Because I was just like looking at what the differences were between like the Switch and the 3DS versions to see what other content I had for post-game stuff. And I found some stuff, but I was just like curious and I was like, oh, events. And I was like, oh, it's just the horse events, okay. But like they also made a Rapidash, but like I feel like they got the main body color slightly off. And they got like the hair color like less fiery. It looks like what they did is kind of what I almost did, which was like kind of basing it more on the Sugimori art colors rather than like how the colors feel like in the games. And like,
sorry, we cut out there for a second. I had to plug in my landline.
Ah, I gotcha. I was just saying like it feels like the colors they had for it in their game feel more like they're based on the Sugimori art, like I almost did. So it just feels a little more muted. But like this one feels more like it does in games.
Right.
Yeah. So like I don't know. I feel like because you guys pushed me in that direction with it, it's so much better.
Yeah.
Because I saw his and I'm like, oh, that's just okay. Oh, this is good. Everyone likes the spaghetti. I don't think anyone's going to take spaghetti damage in the tomato boss fight. Good. Amogus, you eat your scat. No, he's too full. You eat your scat. You get scat too, but you don't like it.
Okay, I went on the Utopia fandom. I looked up horse, and the top result is horse, hermit crab fossil.
Oh, because there's the horseshoe hermit crab. Or the horseshoe crab fossil they have.
Okay. There's two separate lines. There's horse and then hermit crab, which makes sense. Alright. I'm not seeing any pictures of this.
I would say to look for events. Like, look for their events page. Because I think that one is where I was looking that had Rapidash. Because it was whoever filled in the horse events there used Rapidash.
I see a Rapidash. It's like a horse whispering flowers first time activation.
Ah, yes.
That one has it. Yeah, dude, there's like Snort 2 being used for the first time. Yeah, like there's a couple. There's like this guy in like a Yoshi hat.
Someone has the Yoshi amiibo.
Yeah. He's got like, there's like a few Rapidashes on this wiki. Right? Like scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, whoever like collected those images also had a Rapidash horse, which it's like I was like slightly sad when I saw it. I'm like, no, I wasn't original. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel like it's kind of the obvious choice when you see that hairstyle's an option. Like, I feel like instinct tells you, you gotta make a Rapidash. You can have a horn, like,
Yeah, I think at least one or two people have made Rapidash before, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Rapidash is a common one. I feel like maybe like Epona would be a semi-common one that people would make.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, lots of people love the Rapidash. I mean, most of the pictures for the horses on this site, now that I'm looking through it, most of them are Rapidash.
Yeah, it's all that dude save. There's every time there's like one person who goes through, like there's like all of the images for like one thing will be like from one person's playthrough. Like all the images that they have for like the 3DS version's Dark Lord is Dark Lord Satan. Every single one is. So it's like the that one dude's playthrough. It's just all of the images.
Yeah, I wonder if I can figure out who uploaded these images. New source. Oh, here we go. Huge.
Was it Mario? Nice. So I found out the hardest boss in the game might not actually be the hardest boss in the game. Oh, I found this path. Okay. Yeah, I was like, oh, this has to be the hardest boss in the game. It's the Dark Sun. I think that was the hardest one that I fought. And the other time I played, and I found out I just chose the wrong ending this time to get the right one, so I have to fight the final boss again, which like it doesn't go away. Like you can fight it as many times as you want. So I have to fight the actual final boss, choose to save them, and then I get access to a 6th-floor tower. And then when I beat that, the Switch version has another 6th-floor tower that's harder. And I'm like, oh, great. So I have 12 more levels of hell, it seems. Because it got ridiculously hard.
You'll finally be free of this game. And you'll never have to play it again.
Yes, Among Us.
Among Us?
Everyone loves tomatoes. This team is perfect for this fight. Sitting there throwing tomato juice at them, and they're like, oh, this is great.
Oh, they just got lucky because like
everyone likes it except for Piranha Plant, who's neutral. So I don't know what happens with Piranha Plant, but I know Rizio and Among Us will get heals, which makes this one of the easiest boss fights, just because.
Just heals you.
Oh no, Calamity gets hurt. Apparently it's not good enough for the other ones. Or apparently it's good enough for the other two, but it wasn't a high enough like or something for the other one. Which I guess makes sense, because Among Us loves the tomato, like, spaghetti thing. But, so maybe it has to be a higher level, but still. This fight, having two that should guarantee, like, the tomato juice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a feeling he would get hurt. God, everyone's eating bananas. I'm gonna get a banana upgrade after this.
How many bananas do you have?
Your team can have 2 per character when they go out. But in the inn, I think there was like 30 some. There's probably less now, just considering that they're eating so many bananas right now. I actually, by the end of the game in like my main playthrough, I had like 160 bananas. By the end of the post-game like challenge world, I now have like 19. Like I almost ran out. I only have as many as I do because I did a bunch of side quests that were a little easier and was able to get some there. But that one was very hard, especially because like it was like the last few. My characters were just plowing through bananas, and I'm like, no, we need these.
I mean, it's, you know, sometimes it's just, if you don't use the items, it's like, you know, there's like that good meme where it's like the Captain America, and he's like, well, it's the end of the game, and you still haven't used those items.
Mm-hmm.
You've been saving up for the really tough fight.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess at least they got used in tough fights. But at the same time, it's like, I know that there's now 12. Like, I knew there was more to come. And I was like, it only gets harder.
Oh, man. One time I was playing through, like, a randomizer of Pokemon Crystal. And, like, I got to the Elite Four. And I was like, oh, shit. I don't have any, like, items to restore PP. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to struggle through Lance.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I was like, well, I think I can do it. I have enough HP potions. But the problem is, I'm not doing enough damage. And, like, I'm out of X items. But I do have a Berserker gene. So it was like, literally I beat Lance by giving the champ a Berserker gene and then just struggling through his whole team.
Nice.
Just potions at him. And I was like, yep. It's like an item that only exists in Gen 2. And it just like, it causes you to be confused turn 1 for infinite turns.
Oh my god.
It's the weirdest item. It's a held item that's only held by Mewtwo, wild Mewtwo. And it, like, before the first turn, your Pokemon immediately eats it, or, like, consumes it. And, like, you become confused, and your attack goes up by, I think, 3 or 4 stages. And you are confused for, like, 255 turns.
Which is basically never gonna end.
Right. So, like, I did that, and I just used a full heal to, like, cure the confusion.
Smart.
Yeah, and I was like, well, here we go. And I was like, get wrecked, Lance. And, like, literally, I don't think I would have been able to beat Lance otherwise, like, if I didn't have the Berserker gene. Like, the Berserker gene was necessary. Which is funny, because it's an item you don't really use very often at all. Even, like, it's an item you just never get in vanilla. I think there might be a Mewtwo who has it, but, like, he consumes it the first time you fight him, right? So it's like...
Maybe.
Yeah.
Though, well, because it would be turn 0, so you couldn't even Master Ball to catch him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally, like, the fight starts, he uses it, and then it's like, what do you want to do? Right? It's like you have no option to do anything. Is there any way of doing a Berserker gene legitimately in Gen 2?
There might be, but at the same time, I could see there's not being a way to.
Yeah, there might be some obscure... It's definitely like an obscure item because it was exclusive to Gen 2.
Yeah,
Like,
it's one of the ones that most people don't remember exists. Like, I barely remember it exists.
Yeah, it's an item, so it confuses the holder for the duration of 256 turns and raises the attack by 2 stages. So not 1 stage, but 2 stages. They're not like plus 3.
So
like,
it's just a modern X attack, but on turn 0.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. Minus the confusion chance, or the confusion that it gives.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's only ever referenced in any other game. It's referenced in Detective Pikachu.
Wow.
As like it's
Of all fucking places.
yeah, in Detective Pikachu, the Berserk gene is referenced several times as a part of the drug known as R, which can momentarily make Pokemon more powerful, but also causes them to become berserk. And the effects derive from Mewtwo cells and the Berserk gene within them. So in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, wild Mewtwo are programmed to always be holding a Berserk gene. But since Mewtwo can't be found in the wild in those games, the item cannot be obtained that way. Even if it could be found in the wild, the item would be consumed immediately, so it still wouldn't be obtainable from Mewtwo. So there's literally no way to get the item.
That's crazy.
At least according to Bulbapedia. Like, you could do it using glitches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, easily. Like, you could catch a Gen 1 Pokemon, change its... like, use arbitrary code execution or whatever to change its held item to be a Berserker gene. And then trade it to Gen 2, and then the Pokemon would be holding a Berserk gene. Or you could just use arbitrary code execution in Gen 2 to get it, but... yeah. Or like any number of glitches in Gen 1 to like get it that way and then trade it up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't, yeah, that's crazy dude. That's an interesting item though. It's like, it's an item that like only kind of technically exists in Gen 2, but like never actually appears.
Yeah, that's some of the stuff I love about like randomizers is that like they sometimes like you'll just get items that you would never have had the opportunity to use otherwise, like at all. Yeah. And it's like that's honestly sick, or combinations that you would never get to use. Like when I randomized the abilities when I did my Fire Red playthrough. Like I did like a Fire Red Nuzlocke. I caught a Machamp in the wild. I kind of got lucky to do that, but the entire Machop line had huge power. So it was a Machamp with doubled attack. And that thing was terrifying. He died. He died in the Elite Four, but he was terrifying while he lived. Actually, he might have died just before the Elite Four, but like, still, literally, like Machamp has such high attack, and then you just double that? No, that's evil. Like that's.
Yeah.
That was a fun combination to get. Like I love getting that kind of stuff, and like I would sometimes like do randomized moves too, but I feel like randomizing moves, if you just do a full randomization of moves, it's not as fun because, you know, there's like literally a chance that you just get no attacking moves ever. And it just kind of gets annoying, or like you'll get a really bad move late in game. So like there's an option in like the universal randomizer to like make it so that the moves you get are randomized but kind of are organized by like a tiering of like if it would be like an early game, late game type of move, like by how good they are. But then it's just like you continuously get better moves. And it's like, so then it kind of feels almost like more the same, because like you don't have like, you can kind of know like every move you get is probably going to be better than the last, unless you just don't like that move as much or something. And like the odds of any Pokemon having a good move are like pretty much the same. Like it just like continuously kind of like averages them out. It's like if you randomize the stat totals, you kind of get a similar effect. Where like sometimes you'll have like a crazy stat set, but other times it's just like, oh, yep, they're all basically averaged. Toshinori is a butterfly now.
Oh, that's good.
Piranha Pea. that's actually pretty good. Having a tank that's cautious because the cautious Miis have an automatic thing that they'll sometimes do where they'll like stretch to prepare, which makes them move last in the turn. Tanks have a default speed of 0, so they're already the slowest one. So he just goes, oh, I should get ready, and then immediately does a ton of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought Among Us was gonna get get killed. I thought he was gonna jump in the way. Everybody gets sprinkles.
Slurp up the sprinks.
Gotta slurp up them spranks. Yes, jump slash. Show off for Among Us.
Wait, I thought that was a Zelda move. Why does Ganon know it?
Well, who do you think taught it to Zelda?
Link?
No, Ganon.
Also, does Zelda even have a sword?
In Hyrule Warriors. And in Twilight Princess. Which is actually where Hyrule Warriors got the idea to give Zelda like a rapier.
Yeah, she has a rapier. I remember that.
Honestly, I think the original Hyrule Warriors had one of the best Ganondorf designs. He was sick in that. Like they went nuts with his design and it paid off. He looks so good. All right, that's 2 of the bosses and some tea. Calamity bought a present for Among Us. Oh. It's a mirror. Apparently, the red player from Among Us needed a mirror, so he could keep an eye out behind his back, I guess? I don't know. Alright, that's not a great arcade. You have the worst MP on the team. So I will give you the honey. Well, it was neutral. That's not neutral. Mandrake piranha plant. Mandrake piranha plant. Yeah. This has just reminded me. I was like thinking about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I just realized I still haven't technically finished the first DLC because I haven't unlocked the Guardian character, which I need to do. I need to do that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like most of the way there. Here you go, Toshinori. Have your face back. Thank you, Lady Handsome Squidward. Alright. Last one who needs their face is Hamtaro, who is, well, I guess, and the final boss of the world. But let's just go east.
Don't you mean East?
West is my favorite direction.
What about clockwise?
Well, that's not one of the cardinal directions. I should have specified. I meant, like, the cardinal directions.
Okay, but of all the directions, you prefer clockwise over east?
That's a good question, honestly.
No, it's not. It's a terrible
I feel like I do prefer clockwise to counterclockwise.
What?
But at the same time, do I prefer clockwise to east?
No, I like counterclockwise better than clockwise. You're fucking insane if you think
I like
better
that when, like, I don't know, I just find it super satisfying when I'm, like, tightening, like, a screw or something, and it's, like, super tight and, like, you can't move something at all. Like, that's just, like, super satisfying to me when I get it to that point. So, like, as a result, like, you know, because you have to turn it clockwise to do that, like, I've always been fond of having to turn things clockwise.
I like the right hand rule. It's used in like physics and like vector multiplication. So if you like imagine like this is kind of, like this is kind of hard to do, but like if you take out your hand like a finger gun, and you take your middle finger and like point it 90 degrees from your index finger, like straight out. Hold it up to the camera so I can see. Yeah, like that. That's perfect, right? So that's the right hand rule. So you can think of like your index finger and your middle finger are like two vectors. When you multiply them together, the direction of the resulting vector is going to be in the direction of your thumb. As opposed to like the opposite direction, right? If you like flip your stuff like that, right? Yeah.
I always love when there's like those types of like not quite visuals, but like kind of visuals, but like just like things you can do with literally nothing. You know, like most people can just do that thing, you know, and kind of use that to grasp an understanding of like a concept that otherwise might be difficult. Like I remember when I was
like another good example of that.
When I was a kid, we used to do that with like angles in like middle school or something. It was something to do with angles that we would like do with our arms, and like we all had that like down because we knew how to flail our arms around.
Another example is like if you have like you're given a thumbs up, right? And you kind of like sort of like unfurl your hand, so it's like kind of like a curve a little bit. Yeah, like that. So if an electron is moving in the direction that your thumb is pointing, right, then the direction of the magnetic field it would generate is in the curve that your fingers form, that counterclockwise direction. So like if you have like a wire with electrons moving in the direction of your thumb, then the magnetic field it would generate is in the direction that your hand shows. That's the direction of the magnetic field lines.
Whoa. That's pretty sick.
Yep.
I never took physics classes, so these are just neat. I like specifically Dutch because we needed a physical science, but my school counted chemistry as that, so I was like, cool, I'm gonna take chemistry and never take another physical science. And I took chemistry, hated most of it, bullshat my way through the lab reports, and never took another physical science. Because like we had to have a life science, a physical science, and something else. I can't remember. Like it might have been like an earth science or something. And there were like 3 levels that were physical science. There was like the general science one that we had. There was chemistry and there was physics. And then the life sciences were obviously things like, you know, bio. Or like, I think environmental science might have counted as well, just because, you know, it's heavily tied into like keeping things alive, you know. So, but I ended up taking like, I think bio. I took normal bio and I took AP bio. And I took honors bio and AP bio. I don't know if we had a normal bio though. I think we just had like general science. But so like I like dodged all the like cool physics stuff. Because I was like, that sounds like math. And I was right. It was a lot of math. But yeah. and everyone was like, oh, you know, it's pretty easy if you just have to remember the formulas. Because like the teacher that taught that class, like he wouldn't like give you access to the formulas, you just had to like remember them. And I was like, dude, that's my worst part. That's like the part that always screws me up. I can do algebra. It's just that, like, you know, if I have to remember some random formula, I always forget it. You know, I need to have like a cheat sheet of formulas if I'm going to remember that shit.
I was good at memorizing formulas because I would always try and like figure out how people derived them and like understand, like, because that's how I would think about like, what does this formula mean and like why is the formula the way it is, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I can get that, like, kind of being a good way to get a good understanding, just because like you're basically looking at the formulas from a higher level than just, oh, it does the thing.
Yeah, which is like hard to teach, and like I don't have a strong foundation in mathematics, but probably not the easiest way to memorize the formula. But like, that's how I like it. That's why I still know like the formula for gravitational forces is like, you know, G m1 m2 over r squared, right? And like all that other shit. Which, like, that one's not that complicated of a formula. Like, I mean, that one makes sense though, right? It's like, you know, it's going to depend on, you know, it's like an inverse squared relationship, which like a lot of forces are like that because we live in 3-dimensional space, and that's how like force dissipates over distance is an inverse squared. If we live in a 2-dimensional universe, it would be 1 over r instead of 1 over r squared. Yeah, and then the strength of gravity is going to be proportional to the mass of the two objects. So you multiply the two masses together. Or no, you add the two masses together, right? Yeah, m1 plus m2, right? Oh, Jordan, I forgot the formula.
You forgot the formula! I sucked the formula out of your brain with the power of my not knowing the formula.
Yeah, Jordan, you're really dumb.
I'm sorry I made you so dumb.
Yeah, no, you multiply the two masses together, I guess. Yeah, and then multiply it by g, where g is a gravitational constant. But like, that formula is really only useful if you're thinking about like orbital mechanics or something like that. If you're just here on the surface of Earth and you're not like flying off into space, you just do like gravity is just mass times the force of gravity is just like, well, it's just the mass of the object.
Yeah.
Or the weight of the object specifically, right? Right. It's just like, yeah, the acceleration due to gravity is just 9.8 meters per second squared. Approximately. Of course, that changes slightly depending on elevation, and like at very small scales, it will shift slightly over time, since like Earth isn't a completely stable mass. It's, you know, a big old pile of rocks that move around because of geology and whatnot.
When I was like in first grade, I went to like a a charter school, and there was one thing that was interesting because like a lot of people I knew when I was like growing up had trouble distinguishing like what the difference between like weight and mass was, but like I knew since like first grade because it was like it wasn't meant for the first graders, but we had like for the older kids because the classroom at that charter school was like a few different grades, starting at first grade and going up to like third or something. And like some of the older kids would use this scale that was, you know, it was like the 2 weight scales where like one side you would put like actual weights on that were in grams, and then the other side you would put an object on and it would, you know, give you the ability to weigh it, but in a way that gives you the mass, not just the weight. And like kind of distinguishes between the two. And I remember because I was really confused as a kid. I'm like, well, what's the difference? You know, like if I put it on this scale or I put it on like the scale I have at home, it's gonna be the same. And they're like, well, yeah, it's gonna be the same, but if you were in space, it would be different on the scale that you have at home because it's not being weighed against like, you know, something that we know the mass of as a gram. And I was just like, they were like, you could do this on the moon and it would be the same weight for this paperclip. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what?
Yep. Another probably more intuitive way to distinguish between like mass and like the weight is like a simple question to kind of get at the heart of that is like, let's say you have like a car, like a really big heavy car, right? And you set it to neutral and you're like, let's push the car down the street. Like that would be difficult to do, right? But let's say you had, you know, like you were out in space, right? And you were just sort of floating there. And, well, no, like, let's say you were on the moon, right? And you had to push a car down the street, right? Would that be more or less difficult?
I mean, it would be less difficult as long as your muscles developed on Earth. And you had something to hold you in place with as well. Because it would be easy to move yourself. It would be easier to move yourself away from the car on the moon than, like, to move the car. I mean, it's the same as on Earth. But, you know, in space, with Earth muscles, you'd push yourself and you'd probably go back a few feet on the moon. But
well, let's say your feet are planted on, you know, the moon.
Like you are firmly secured to the moon.
Let's say like you're not trying to like push the car like all the way down the street. You're just trying to push the car like a couple feet forward, and you're like glued in place, right? Would it be more difficult to push it on the moon, or more difficult to push it on Earth?
I would think it might be more difficult on Earth, just because, you know, you have to fight the inertia extra hard because, you know, it's being pushed down so hard that has affixed it in place, and so then you're pushing and you have to fight that gravity and kind of shift it so that you can overcome that force a little bit and push it in another angle.
The car, I'm asking you to just push it forward.
I mean, to push it forward, you'd still have to fight the gravity that's pushing it down.
Why?
Well, because the gravity that's pushing it down is giving it extra friction against the Earth because you have a force pushing it down.
Gravity, you're fighting friction, right?
Yeah, you're fighting friction that's kind of enhanced by the gravity.
Okay, so let's say instead of a car on wheels, we have just like a block of ice sitting on top of another block of ice, and you can ignore the friction, right?
Okay.
But it's a very heavy block of ice, right? So the only thing you're worrying about is just like there's no friction between like ice and the ground, right? And you're pushing on it. Would it be harder to push the block of ice on the moon, or would it be harder to push it on the Earth?
I think at that point it would be even.
And why is that?
I think it would be even because at that point all you're doing... Well... Yeah, it would be even because you're shifting, like, you're applying force to it, and now that force is being applied to the mass, not the weight. because you don't have that gravity pushing it down, holding it in with friction as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you have removed friction from the equation, you're just pushing a thing of a mass. And so I would think it would be pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's you're right. I think your reasoning seems a little strange.
My reasoning might not be perfect, but
yeah, I think your conclusion is right. Yeah, like in that case, there is no difference, right? Because you're not lifting the weight up at all. You're not fighting gravity, right? All of the forces that are happening in terms of moving the block forward is just in the perpendicular to the direction of gravity. Mm-hmm. And so gravity has absolutely no effect on how difficult it is, right? Or how much force, really. The question I'm asking, maybe a better question, is how much force would it take to push the block forward, right? Is going to be the same in both cases, right? Since there's no friction, right? And so that's important to note that, like, if you were in space, right? Like friction does have an effect on it, and it does have, like, even if it's like a small effect, it's still appreciable. Because, like, even if in the case of, like, the car, where friction is pretty small, right, because it's on wheels and you have it in the neutral, so, like, friction isn't too big of an effect, it's still there.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, if I were to apply a very tiny force to a mass, just in empty space, right, it's still going to move forward, right?
Yeah.
It's going to move forward very slowly, right? And then if I continue to apply that force over, say, a few seconds, it's going to accelerate forward, right, and get faster and faster, and eventually it'll get down to the end of the street pretty quickly. And that's because there's no friction slowing it down and no friction canceling out that speed, right? If I push on a car very lightly, right, there's going to be friction against the direction of motion, right? So one, I have to overcome inertia, or not inertia. I have to overcome static friction, which is a force that cancels. So, like, if I just lean up against a car, right, it's not going to start rolling down behind me, right? There's static friction keeping the car from moving, right? If I was in space, or if I was in a situation where there is no friction, and I were to just lean up or even bump up against a car, it'll start rolling away from me, because there's no friction to stop it, to, like, keep it in place. There's no static friction to keep it in place. And then you have, like, kinetic friction, which is slightly less strong than static friction, at least in the case of, like, objects sliding past each other. But, like, with air friction, it's different. It actually increases with speed, but we're not going anywhere near that fast, so it doesn't matter. Air resistance. But with static friction, though, on top of it makes it more difficult, because if you push on a car, like, even if you keep it going to, like, a small speed, right, like, the friction is going to decelerate the car. It's going to cause it to accelerate, I guess, but, like, slower, right? It's going to slow. And so you have to constantly be applying a small force to it, or a large force, in order to keep it going at the same speed. Whereas in a space scenario where you have no friction, you can apply a very small force for a short amount of time, and you're only going to be making it go faster. It's never going to slow down, right?
Yeah.
Friction, even a small amount of friction, like in the case of the car, has a pretty big effect on, like, how difficult it is to move something. And, like, for example, astronauts, when, like, repairing, satellites, they will end up having to physically move very heavy, large objects, like the weight of a car engine, into place. But, like, they can do it because there's very little friction in space, because there's no air. It's not rubbing up against anything. And so, like, yes, it's difficult to move a car in space, but, like, it's easier than moving a car on Earth, because there's no gravity, because there's no friction, right?
Yeah.
You still have to worry about inertia. Yes, it's not going to be like, picking up a baseball bat and waving it around. It's a giant, heavy-ass, car. Like, it's just going to be slower, right? So you can like still do things with a very heavy object. It's just like it's going to take longer to pick up speed, and it's going to take longer to slow it down. So, yeah, than like a small lightweight object, even though there's no gravity. And that's what mass is. It's the reason that like heavy objects are harder to swing around than light objects. And like then like there's this thing of like inertial mass versus like gravitational mass, right? And it's like something that like I think was first described by like Newton. And he's like, although there's no reason, like there's no like measurement we can take to like prove that these two things are the same, like functionally they're the same. Because it's like gravitational mass is like the mass of an object and like how it affects the force of gravity, right? So like, right, because like when you think of like when you calculate the force of gravity on an object, you have to use the object's mass to calculate that, right? That's its gravity mass, right? And so like that's different from like an object's like inertial mass, which is like when we calculate how fast an object accelerates, we say what's the force acting on that object and like how much does it cause it to accelerate, right? And in Newton's example, right, the object's mass and the inertial mass are the same thing, right? And that's true in like because we consider an object's mass and its inertial mass and its gravitational mass to be the same, like in those equations they cancel out, right? So that's why all objects, accelerate at the same rate here on Earth, is because the gravitational mass of the object and its inertial mass cancel each other out when you calculate the acceleration. And so, like, the acceleration only depends upon the Earth's mass, not the object's mass. But the force will be different. And so that's why, like, a big, heavy iron ball versus a lightweight feather is going to fall faster because the force of gravity is stronger, and so it can overcome the air resistance. Whereas a lightweight feather is going to have a much weaker force that isn't going to be strong enough to overcome or is going to have a harder time overcoming the force of, like, air resistance. But if you place them in a vacuum, they'll both fall at the same rate. But anyways, that's just basic, like, physics 101 stuff that I did for like an hour.
See, I've currently progressed through the Hamtaro boss fight. And I'm now basically approaching where like the last boss fight in this area is. But the tank has made my main character upset, which is probably the biggest downside to the tank not being your player character, is that they have several moves that are very easy to make other characters upset with. Like it has the human cannonball one, it has one where it shoots a bunch of like random shots everywhere, which like can hit enemies multiple times, but has like a small chance of hitting one of your allies. And it's like, it's not a fun not a fun move to have randomly get used. Like it does have its use at times, but
that's another thing, is like, isn't it kind of weird that you can't control any of the characters besides yourself?
I mean, it's not extremely exclusive to this game. It's not super common in a lot of games, but
yeah, I don't mean like weird as in unusual. I mean, it's just weird, like strategizing, because then it's like it basically simplifies all the strategies in just like a numbers game of like, because you can't like plan around what your teammates are gonna do for like planning.
You kind of can, because like you can predict when a teammate's going to like eat an HP banana or an MP candy. You can roughly predict if they're going to heal someone or if they're going to hurt the enemy. If there's like, you can kind of predict what types of moves they'll start to use against certain enemy sets. Like, if you have two enemies, they might not use a move that hits both. They might just use like a powerful move that hits one. But like usually if there's like 4 or more, it's safe to assume they're gonna go for anything that hits multiple. So like you can kind of plan around that. Like if like when I was in that super hard boss fight, I had to frequently heal a character so that they wouldn't eat a banana and waste their turn healing, so that they could do more damage or heal someone else or revive someone, or something like that. And like planning around which ones you keep alive based on like the types of moves that you know they will use in those circumstances.
Yeah.
And against that boss, I even had to pick which ones would use moves useful in that boss fight. Because there are some that are just better against a bunch of enemies rather than like a boss.
Right.
So like it kind of makes most of it strategy. Like there's a little bit of tactics involved in just like, okay, so like, you know, I don't want them to heal with a banana this turn, so I'm gonna give them, you know, something that, like, I'm gonna like heal them with my character this turn, or I'm gonna heal them with the sprinkles this turn, or, you know, I'm starting to run low on sprinkles and I need to heal them, so I have to use my character's turn to heal them, or like, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a lot of like in the late game, like in that post game boss fight that I was doing, I had to not play at fast forward speed anymore because I literally could not think through what I needed to do in time if I was. Because I was just like every move I would be like, okay, so they use this move. Do I have to heal someone? Do I have to do this? And it doesn't help that boss fight, the boss can literally one of its moves just does like most of a typical character's health, unless they're really over leveled, at which point it does like a large chunk of their health, but like not an insane amount.
Can you pause at any time?
I can, but it's even like at just like the pace of like the auto battle stuff when you're fast forwarded, it can sometimes be tough to like find an opportunity to pause where it's not too late to do a thing. Also, when you pause, you can't hit a button to like go to the menu and like grab things. Like half the fight, I had this menu partially up because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna need to heal someone all of a sudden, so I'm just gonna have it up and ready in case I do.
Okay. So it's not like...
or even like it got to the point where I needed to switch people into the safe spot to heal, or to keep them from taking extra damage when I needed them later in the fight.
Is it not like strictly turn-based? It's like...
It is...
in between turns?
It is strictly turn-based except for sprinkles. Sprinkles are the only thing that don't apply to a turn. You can pull someone into the safe spot at any point, so that's kind of not turn-based, but they only heal when it would be their turn.
Gotcha. So yeah, but in that case then it's like you have to watch every turn as like every like character's action to like make sure that you're on top of healing them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sprinkle him up. I put him in the safe spot and I was like, I don't need to waste his turn to to heal him there. Ah, yes, quarreling. Great. That's at least not one of the bad quarrels. That one basically just achieves nothing, but you get an extra weaker turn because the character still gets to attack after you interrupt them. But then there's other quarrels where they're like, you know, taking extra damage, and that's not good.
So, when do you want to play Lasagna Boy?
I have no clue, but Lasagna Boy does sound like it would actually be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, there were a few of the ones that I found. They're like, I sent ones that I just thought were funny, but at the same time, I also sent ones that I'm like, this actually looks like it could be good, you know? Like, this could be an engaging thing for us to, like, screw around with.
Yeah. It's an interesting art style. Like, the pixel art doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, from what I saw in like the screenshots, like I only saw them small, but like it looks pretty good. And like it also benefits from the fact that it's pixel art. It's probably a pretty lightweight game, which like helps in none of us have like crazy strong computers.
Yeah.
Do you want baby food, Ganon?
It's just a very silly name for a game, Lasagna Boy.
It is. I saw the name and I was like, that's ridiculous. And I saw the screenshots and I'm like, that looks like it would be good. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, there's quality and effort here. I thought I saw Lasagna Boy and I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be goofy. There's gonna be like a dude and some lasagna or something. It's gonna be like the Bean game. But no, it was actually just a good game by the looks of it. I haven't played it to say that it's a good game, but like it looks like it has the potential to be quite good. Here, I need to. Yeah, it's gonna throw outings at these two.
Yeah. I mean, it does have, like, mixed reviews.
Hmm.
You know?
So it might not be as good, but it is very new. So it could also be like a few people didn't like it as much. And so they reviewed it earlier than the people who have enjoyed it, just because the people who have enjoyed it are still playing or something. Who knows?
It's like, there's 13 reviews on it so far.
What are the mixed, or what are the more negative ones like?
It's like 4 hours, 1.4 hours. The ones that recommend it, there's one person recommended it, played 9 hours. They probably like went through the whole game. There's also people who recommend it. They only played it for like an hour, 2. Got all 13 reviews. Content posted in this community may not be appropriate for all ages. For Lasagna Boy? Yeah. Yeah, it's like some of the reviews, it's mixed. Some people like it, some people don't. And like, it's okay. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not...
I feel like it could still be enjoyable in a group setting. I mean, how many PTCs did we have that where it was like a game that was like maybe mediocre or like it was okay, but it was able to be engaging just because, we were all there partaking in it at once. No, Among Us, you need to like the gorilla protein. Alright, well. I guess it's time we set off. Go down the path to the treasure. Rocks or tadpoles? I assume rocks as golems. I assume. Yes. One of the warrior class like moves that they get in late game is amazing. God, I hate that coral face. It's called Dark Eye Slash. It's just a jump slash, but it does extra damage if you are fighting an enemy with eyes. Which there's not a lot of moves that actually have impacts based on like what parts of the face there are, which honestly they should have more of in this game. I think it's an interesting mechanic. But the Dark Eye Slash is just like super edgy and cool looking. Like they like jump in the air, an eye symbol appears, which I think is like the curse that makes the faces like symbol, and like appears in front of them. there's like purple lightning shooting off their sword and like kind of a creepy glow, and then they like slash down and it just goes like with like purple energy. And it's like, oh, that looks sick. It's like, man, some of like the late game moves in this game just actually look pretty cool. Especially the mage has some really cool ones, and the scientist does. The scientist can like summon like a black hole, and it just like sucks in like stuff, and just look, I don't know, it just looks cool. It's a black hole. But then I feel like the wizard or the mage has like some really good ones too.
So Lasagna Boy Classic. It's based off of like, I think someone made, looks like yeah, okay, so yeah, this is like something that I think Lasagna Boy, it looks like there's a game that was made, so I'm just diving deep into it.
Oh
like
no, you're fine. I'm curious too.
For like it was like a itch.io like game maker thing for like, you know, like it was like a Game Boy aesthetic to it. And so they like made this game. You can like play the free demo. Like the classic Lasagna Boy. And then like they sort of remade this sort of spiritual successor to the classic Lasagna Boy.
Interesting.
There's like a free demo for it too. For the one on Steam that you can, is a demo I found.
So I like, if I don't know if like save data would pass from the demo version over, but like at the very least, I think it could be worth at least maybe checking out the demo rather than like buying the game necessarily if we wanted to do something with friends. At least like the first time we do anything with it.
I think that's just be worth playing the demo for a little bit to see if it's fun. Even. It's a weird like horror aesthetic, and it's like it's $7.
Interesting.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's not particularly expensive, and that's the other thing. Like, I feel like if a game's like under $10, I don't care a ton if it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I buy a game that's under $10 and it's amazing, I feel kind of bad because I'm like, this should have been more.
I think that's the thing with like, I don't know, something I've been learning more about games is like a lot of games are just like, I think like I don't know, I feel like sometimes like I see people who make games and I'm like, why don't you just do animations? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why don't you just animate stuff, right? Like, your game idea is so cookie cutter, like I've played this game a million times before. It's just like, you have a really cool idea for like a story you wanted to tell, but you also made it into a game.
Yeah.
And, like,
I definitely feel like that's a common issue with a lot of,
especially
like,
indie
it's most common in indie titles, but like in like a lot of games in general, like someone will have like a really cool concept but not have the game to back it up,
right? Like, it's
or
just
like
a very cookie cutter kind of game. But
yeah,
like, really cool art style, really cool character design. It's just not a great game.
yeah, and it's like the game kind of drags it down some as a result.
Yeah, it's
Like when it could have been great as like an anime or like a comic or even just like a story, like just written, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, I think nothing wrong with that. It's just like, it's like if you have a cool idea for a story, like it doesn't have to be a game always.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
what the story like? Like, yeah, I don't want to say like, oh, you need to justify a reason for making a game, because you know it's fine just to make a game. To make a game, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like too. It's like, you know, if you're gonna spend a lot of time like making a game, right? It's like, I feel like the thing with like games, it's like I particularly am very interested in stories that can really only be told through the medium of video games, right? Yeah. And like, and there's like certain like games and stories that I think do that super super well, right? Where it's like this can only work if it's like a game that someone is playing, right? Like you are telling a story and telling it in a way that can only really be told through a game, right? And I think those are really really great. And like that's not easy to do always.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
no, I definitely agree that I generally when I want to play a game, like I want it to be something that like I wouldn't experience outside the medium in like the same way. You know, like
like I was playing through how was it like the World Comes With You Club? Mm-hmm. And like I love the story to it.
That one legit came to mind when you were talking about it because I was like, oh yeah, because that one had like the horrible platformer parts.
Yeah, it was like it was a great story. It really sucked me in. It was awesome, and it was like the game itself was boring as shit. It was a bad platformer.
Yeah,
it was a boring ass platformer, right? And it would have just been better if this was just like a visual novel or an anime, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But also, there's no way in hell I would have watched that if it was just a visual novel, right? Because
yeah.
I don't watch visual novels. I play video games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a great story. It's a good story. And maybe that says more about me than it does, like, the industry. Because it's like, you know, I like video games, and I love the story. And I love that it was told as, like, you know, a visual novel. I didn't mind. Mm-hmm. But also, don't read visual novels ever, because, I don't know. I'm lazy, and I'm sick, and I don't like reading. But I'll play like a super long ass RPG with like zero voice acting.
Look, I feel like RPGs partially get some other stuff from like having mechanics that click, you know, with the player, because like, you know,
but then also,
like I don't think you would be able to like experience like the plot of like, I don't know, Final Fantasy VIII, you know, all that well if it was like just a book, you know. Right. Like, it wouldn't be the same experience because you're not making the decisions that, you know, you're making. You're not experiencing like, you know, like in Final Fantasy VII, you go through like all these battles and then like insert major character death. Now you feel it because you've constantly been like working with them. You know, plots revolved around. You know, it hits different than like side character in book dies because like, you know, that hits, but it's not quite the same.
Right. Yeah. You get a time to like build up that bond in a way that people don't do in a video game, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I kind of have that thought. I used to, when I was a kid, I used to go like, oh, I love this game. I hope that someday it would have like a movie. But then I'm like realizing now, like, you know, because I thought of that like when I was playing Skyward Sword the first time as a kid. And I'm like thinking back now, I'm like, I would never want a Skyward Sword movie. Because it would be too condensed. It's like it has a lot of plot, and it needs that plot to like build up the same emotional impacts that it does, and like to build up the story it tells. I don't know if you could achieve that amount of build if you just made a movie of it.
That's why they need Skyward Sword, the TV show.
Yes, honestly, I think TV shows a lot of the time work better for telling longer stories. Like, I think video games work better being adapted to shows than movies.
Like, yeah, because, like, literally, that's just what a video game is. It's just, like 3 seasons of an anime, but... like, Persona 5, you can't tell the entire story of Persona 5 in a single movie. It's impossible. It's too goddamn long, right? Like, you could make it into an anime, and they did.
If you made it into a movie, it would have to be like movies, you know?
It would be like, yeah, right. And like each movie would be like a season of the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't work, right?
Like, it's much like how manga usually gets adapted into shows, not movies.
Yeah.
And when you get movies, everyone complains. I feel like the live-action Netflix adaptations aren't just bad because, like, the acting's not great. I feel like they're bad because they're such rushed pacing. Like everything has to happen and happen and happen, and because you're trying to get through like a plot of a manga or an anime over the course of a couple hours.
A live action adaptation of Way the House Husband.
I have not.
It's actually pretty good.
I feel like that one could work because it doesn't have like a huge overarching plot structure that, you know, you're trying to condense into a couple hours. It has a bunch of bits, you know.
It's just like it works really well because it's just like, and like it's weird. I don't know. It's what is it called? It's like I don't even know if it's Way of the House Husband adaptation. Let me look this up. It's called The Ingenuity of the House Husband.
Okay.
Right. It's like it's advertised as like an adaptation of Way of the House Husband. There's literally like I'm looking at Netflix and there's like the live action actor, but then like behind him is like the drawing of the anime character or manga character, right, staring at him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I could see that one working as like a live action one.
It's good. It's just like it's weird because like they don't, at least from what I've seen, I think all of it, and it's like they don't ever reference the fact that he used to be a member of the Yakuza. They don't ever like reference any other characters or even his name. It's just like a Japanese man doing chores, but like in a very over-the-top, intense way, and like it works. And it's
That's amazing,
right? And like it's good, right? It's like he's sitting there and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna make some fucking coffee," and he like has a super long, like over-the-top, like thing of like making coffee, and he's like, "Wait, what was I doing?" Just forgets like what he even came into the kitchen to do. Like it's funny, like it works, right? It's literally the only live action adaptation I've seen that like works because like
nice.
It's very serialized. It's like, and it's not a movie. It's just a TV. It's like different episodes of it, like which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's more piecemeal, right?
It's not trying to pull a Full Metal movie.
Right. Like it's just like this entire episode is just gonna be him doing his fucking laundry, and like that's it, right? And like that works, and it's good. It's a good formula for it.
I feel like that's one of the things that like not enough studios have kind of taken an understanding to. Like literally, have you heard what the newest one is? The newest live action anime adaptation? Or I guess live action manga adaptation?
What is it?
It's gonna be One Piece.
Oh shit. Yeah.
How do you take... That show is still not done. It is 800 some episodes.
Well, they're probably just gonna do like the first arc or whatever.
Well, but the Full Metal one, that's multiple seasons. They did the entire show in the movie.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. So, and like, you know, they could try to pull like a Death Note, because Death Note did just like the first season, basically, as a live action movie. And it was a little looser with it. Which, it was weird watching the Death Note live action without having seen the anime, because like, it was like, I could see why people who watched the anime might not like it, just because like there were times that the acting was atrocious or like the pacing felt off. But then other than that, like it seemed pretty alright. Like I'd seen far worse. I'd seen the live action Full Metal, which I'd also seen without seeing the anime. But it, like, watching that, I could tell it was just atrocious. Like, I could tell that it wasn't even adapting it well. Because I'd seen certain things that, like, people would reference from the anime and, like, they just were gone. Or, like, they didn't have impact at all. And it's like...
Look, man...
Don't make a full manga into a movie. At least make it into multiple.
House Husband, though. It's good. The Ingenuity of the House Husband.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out, because I didn't know that existed, but I have enjoyed I enjoyed the like animatic, or not animatic, the motion manga that they had for the for like the Way of the House Husband. Like I thought that was fun.
Yeah, Engineer the House Husband is good. You'd like it. I think you'd like it. It's weird though, cause like they don't. It is kind of weird though, cause like it literally could just be like the only reason that I know it's a reference to like it's just weird because it's like there's
It's so loosely tied.
It's so fucking loosely tied. Literally the only reason I know for a fact it's a reference to the original source is because there's like on Netflix there's just like a little picture of him in the background, right? Of like the guy from the manga, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for that, this could just be the biggest fucking coincidence in the world, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a live-action short with, like, a Japanese guy titled The Ingenuity of the House Husband, that, like... Because at no point in the episode do they ever reference the names of the characters. It's just the one dude. Like, they don't reference his wife or anything. Like, it's just weird. Like, I don't know why it's so fucking weird. Like, even the description, like, doesn't actually reference the show. It's just a tough guy with a knack for housework tackles household tasks with meticulous care in these comedic live-action vignettes. And it's like, I don't get it. Like,
how do you just not reference the manga, the show, anything in that process?
Like, I don't, like, did someone just, like, make this on their own as, like, inspired by, like, Way of the House Husband, but, like, you know, legally didn't want to, like, get copyright?
Oh, but if he's in the thumbnail for it, it has to have been considered. So, my best guess is it's meant to specifically... Like, it's for, like, just a different audience, you know? Like, it's for people who wouldn't be familiar with the manga, whereas I think, like, the motion manga is designed for people who know the manga exists. Because, like, it's not even, like, an anime, you know, it's still, it's a lot more rigid than that, and how it, like, feels and how it moves. Right. So it's, like, it wouldn't, if you go in expecting an anime, it doesn't feel right. But if you go in, you know, expecting, like, a motion manga, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And it's like...
It's like, what is it...
So, like, my guess is it's just for people who, like, don't know that the manga exists, don't know that the anime exists. That's my best guess.
But then why would they even advertise it at all?
Well, it's, you know, pull in a new audience. Like, use the same IP to target multiple groups.
This show is ... understated. I'm so confused now. Oh, it's Kenjiro Suda who voices Tatsu in Way of the House Husband. Also stars in this bonus series.
So it's actually the same voice actor?
It's the same voice actor of Tatsu, yes.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So that's the guy. It's just the voice actor. That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that works. So that's the only other connection there to Way of the House Husband. Is the description is like, watch season 1 now. Kenjiro Tsuda, who voices Tatsu in The Way of the House Husband, also stars in this bonus series. So it's like a bonus series, I guess. It's Netflix special. Yeah,
it just gives you like a little bit of enjoyment.
Right. So yeah, it's weird. I also love this picture. Like, let me just fucking send this picture to you. Let me just take a picture of this. It's fucking great.
Oh,
send it. Like, this is great. Like, he's just holding a fucking cat, and his mouth is a little bit open, and he's just staring at him. It's fucking great.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting thing I've seen with online stuff as of late was like, because the Marvel, like, Shang-Chi movie is coming out, well, actually it just came out, like, yesterday. They released a 13-minute short film following what happens to the guy who's, like, the actor who was hired to play as the Mandarin for Iron Man 3. And what happens to him after that, as sort of, like, a little bit of, like, a precursor to Shang-Chi, and also just, like, a goofy little side thing to release. And I'm like, they've never done something of that sort, and I kind of like the idea of, like, getting just, like, bite-size, kind of goofier things, because, like, it's a kind of like a mockumentary following him. Like, he's invited someone to do a documentary about him.
About the actor.
About him as the actor who was hired to play as the world's scariest terrorist for a while. And it's like, it's not about the actual actor though, it's just about the fake actor that was playing as the Mandarin.
Oh, like in universe.
It's in universe mockumentary.
Who's pretending to be a terrorist.
Yeah, who was hired to be a terrorist, and now he's no longer being paid to be one, so he, like, let a documentary filmmaker come in to make a movie about him.
Okay. So
and it's
set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, as, like, a way to build up to Shang-Chi, where we're introduced to the actual Ten Rings, and, like, where traditionally that's where the Mandarin came from, but I'd imagine they're not gonna have the Mandarin just be the main villain. I haven't seen the short, so my guess is that they kind of address that, but I have no clue. But I have to check that short out at some point.
Yeah.
But
actually, I know nothing about the Ten Rings. Or
It's-
any characters at all. But it looks kind of cool.
in the comics, the way the Ten Rings usually worked was, like, they were actually, like, on your fingers. Like, there was one for each finger. And basically each one had, like, a different power, like a different magical power. And so, like, if you had all 10 rings, you could control, like, all the, like, elements and stuff, and, like, you could fly around and do crazy stuff. And he was the main villain for Iron Man because he did magical stuff, Iron Man did technology stuff. So, like, they were kind of a confrontation of, like, mysticism and reality. Or, like, I guess mysticism and, like, sci-fi reality.
Right.
You know, like, something that's more grounded in science versus something that's, like, grounded in ancient magic and stuff like that. But it looks like they're going for a slightly different direction with how they do the rings in this, because they're a little bit generic in how they were implemented, because it was just like I feel like it would kind of feel too much like Infinity Stones or something like that, having, like, each ring has a different power or something. So they're kind of, like, by the looks of it, going in a slightly different way. But I'm curious to see what all they do with it, just because, you know, it's a different take on that than, like, anything I'd heard of or seen before. But it looks like it will be interesting, especially because it, like, brings back. It's the second thing Marvel has released to re-reference the Incredible Hulk movie that had the actor that they don't have as the Hulk. To, like, kind of confirm, no, it is still canon. Don't worry, guys, we didn't erase it. Like, Abomination shows up in Shang-Chi. Like, he doesn't just disappear, he pops up in it. So it's like,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
in the,
I want to be clear, I really don't. But
well, I don't know, it's just like the Abomination character is just, like, an evil version of the Hulk. He's not quite the Hulk, but, like, he was another experiment to kind of replicate that, and it didn't work the same, and he's just terrifying to look at. And he was, like, the main villain of the Incredible Hulk movie. At least outside of, like, the U.S. military, because that was the one general was the other villain.
Yep. And that movie came out, what, like 20 years ago?
No, it was 2010 or 11, I want to say. Because
So
it would have
10.
been like a couple years after. It would have been a couple years after Iron Man.
Okay.
Maybe a year after. So it might have been like 08, because I think Iron Man might have been 07. But like, yeah, it's one of the older ones. They changed the actors for the Hulk, and so people just kind of assumed that they were like low-key saying that that movie was not canon anymore. But they like wanted to like kind of remind people like, nah, it's still here. Still here. It's just now we just pretend that Mark Ruffalo was in it.
Look, they just gotta remake that movie with Mark Ruffalo.
Honestly, I think it would be so much better. I think Mark Ruffalo has been great as the Hulk.
Yeah, he's doing a great job as the Hulk, honestly.
I think he looks good for the part too. Like, I don't think Ed Norton, that's the name of the actor that played him in the other movie. I don't think he looked like, I guess that's kind of the point, is that he doesn't look hulky, but like when he would turn into the Hulk, it didn't look like it was still him. Mm-hmm. It looked like an entirely different dude had turned into the Hulk. And I feel like that's kind of a weak point. And that, because it's like Ed Norton has like this kind of like long face, and he's kind of like a scrawny dude, which helps like build that like, they're different people. But like, I feel like Mark Ruffalo and his version of the Hulk, it feels like it's Mark Ruffalo got big and scary and green, you know, versus Ed Norton got replaced by a dude who looked more like the Hulk and then was made big, scary, and green.
I feel like I got like a Bluetooth headphones recently, and they're really nice. It's just like when I use them on my laptop, they kind of glitch out sometimes. So I think it's like, but when I use it on my phone, they're fine. So I think it's like the Bluetooth chip on my laptop or something is messed up or just old.
What does it, like, what's the specific issue it has? Like, does it just like sound worse, or is it like...
No, it's not that it sounds, it like glitches out. It will like when you were talking earlier, you kind of had like this weird, like you kept like clipping, and like you had like a robot voice a little bit. It was weird.
Oh, I think
like,
some of that is that to make it more efficient. I know some devices will, like, I know my computer does this as well. When it's sending to a Bluetooth speaker and there's no audio coming, it will stop sending and then restart sending, and so it will, one, miss the start of whatever sound triggered it to turn it back on, and two, it will like sound worse when it does that. So like if there's enough gaps in audio, certain devices can make Bluetooth just sound awful. But I think like things like phones are kind of like set up so that they have like enough, like they send like a small amount of sound you won't hear at all times, such that like it keeps it on, so that like say your music's quiet, it doesn't like clip in and out.
I've had similar problems like that with other laptops. I haven't had that problem with this one. I don't know. It's not quite, I think, but yeah, I don't know.
It could be the Bluetooth chip too. Like that's definitely a strong possibility if it's not just like clipping in and out and then like sounding funky around
it's
that.
Not like the start of a sentence or whatever. Because like I could be listening to music or something, which will like constantly have noise in the background, but like it will still like clip, like not clip, like it will like stop sending sound. It will just be like a really high pitched note or something, right?
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it would just be like the thing kind of clipping in and out.
It's not sending signals. It's just like the signals it sends are like bad,
getting like corrupted somehow or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, which isn't good. I wonder if there's a way I could test like my Bluetooth device.
I'm sure there's gotta be a way to do that, like a Bluetooth like packet transmission test of some sort. There's a message in chat. I know not of the monkey guy. Oh, that actually reminds me though. Keith, have you seen the guest characters for the Super Monkey Ball like re-release that they're doing, like the Super Monkey Ball
like they
Mania
have,
or something?
Or like the guy from the is that right?
Yeah, but they have so many. Because they announced like Sonic and Tails really early on. They have the guy from the Yakuza. They have like one of the monsters from Monster Rancher. Like the one that's just like an eyeball with like a... It looks like if you took like a stock eye from something and then the stock was just a leg, basically, and it just kind of like hopped around. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, they have so many different guest characters that they're introducing in it. Like, it's literally like they took a Smash Bros. Cast of characters they had the rights to and stuck them in Monkey Ball. It's crazy. Like, I'm not even good at Monkey Ball. I don't enjoy it that much as a result, but it makes me kind of want it because there's so many freaking characters. And the Monster Rancher one, his bananas get replaced with, like, CDs. Because if I remember correctly, that's how Monster Rancher worked early on. It was like you would... Like, all the monsters are stored in discs, and it, like, started as, like, a Tamagotchi-style thing, where you would, like, take a CD, you'd put it in to the system, and it would scan it, and then you would get a monster based on it.
Right.
And so, like, you collect CDs when you're playing as him. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is insane how many characters they're putting in this game. Like, absolutely awesome that they're going so far with it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just cool.
Yeah. Because it's not like this. Sorry, I'm just trying to troubleshoot.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
It's like, it's not this sound. Because, like, the sound of my laptop's fine. I, like, don't have my headphones with Bluetooth on my... It's just when... I don't know. Weird.
I am about to lose my characters, so I might throw this into Rizzy now. But I'll just go ahead and throw it in again. Frog juice. Does not like frog juice. Cool.
Something called audio coding.
That is so yellow on the front there. Okay. Alright, let's return what is the last face. It's so simple. That's what the face looks like. Dang. Alright, this will mean big dance scene happens soon. Hey there, Roadhog. Goodbye, handsome Squidward. the best part of these dance scenes is you literally can't speed them up. Because they're cutscenes that are, like, considered vital cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, dance among us, dance. It's your time to be in Fortnite.
How long do you think before Among Us gets into Fortnite?
Oh man, I feel like they could do it. I feel like they could do it anytime. I think the biggest difficulty would be getting them to fit the models. But they have a lot of weirder ones now. So they might find a way. They might find a way.
Reskin the Mandalorian.
Just stick an Among Us helmet on the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
There's too many things on screen.
Just remove his arms, and then just remove Mandalorian's arms and jetpack, and replace his with the...
Remove his arms, but give him, like, keep the arm skeleton and just give him, like, little hands. So they, like, float around him like freaking, Rayman.
And then replace his jetpack with just like a backpack thing or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, they do have that backpack, yeah. The Among Us characters do have a backpack, so that would work.
Look up Among Us 3D model.
I guarantee someone better have made one. Actually, didn't Fall Guys and Among Us had a cross thing? Like in Fall Guys, you can have an Among Us suit now, so they have a 3D version of Among Us. Oh,
Yeah,
there's
a little backpack. He has a little face shield thing and then 2 stubby legs.
Yeah, I bet you could do that with the Mandalorian. You could do that. One of the things that I saw recently that's really cool, it's getting a physical release, but there's also a digital release. There's the game, I think it's Monster Crown, is coming to the Switch soon. It's also out on like Steam, and like a few other things like that, but it's coming to like the Switch and like the PlayStation, and I don't know if it's coming to Xbox, but like it's coming to all the console ones soon. But they actually have like a physical release that like started pre-orders, and it's sold out of its pre-orders on Amazon, which is really good. But the game itself is just really interesting. It's, kind of, it's like a monster training type of thing, like a la Pokemon, but it's not just trying to be Pokemon, but like slightly different, kind of like how Temtem did. It's like very different. But Monster Crown. But the thing that makes it the most different is that its breeding system uses genetics. And like there are different visuals you will get by crossbreeding different monsters. Like you won't just get one of the ones. You'll get like different visuals that have different stats. Like there's actual like the breeding's complex. It's not just like I have a Nido King, I have a Ditto. I will get a baby Nidoran male. Like,
is it doing like pixel art stuff? Huh. Yeah, it's a monster taming game with true crossbreeds. Monster taming game, dark story, and filled to the brim with content and imagination. Looks like a Kickstarter project.
Yeah, I think it was. From what I've heard, it like actually came out really good. So like when I saw that it was coming to the Switch, because I was like, I don't know if I would play it as much just on my computer in general, because I feel like I don't do a lot of PC gaming anymore. Like there's certain types of games that I'll play, but like that's because I feel like they're most at home there. But for something like Pokemon, like I feel like I kind of want to take it places. So like unless I was just doing it to stream, I would want to have like, you know, have it like on the Switch or something. And it's not like one of the games that if I feel like if I got it on the Switch, I'd be playing like a worse version, just because, you know, it's not like it's not some graphically intensive, you know, crazy game that's gonna like make my Switch go at like 3 frames per second. Like it's something that like my Switch won't explode from playing. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like that's kind of like the ideal type of a port for me on it.
Sorry, I'm looking through the images on Kickstarter, and there's just like a screenshot of the game, and it's this person with these really big wide eyes, and she's like, "So you'd like to breed monsters?"
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. This is an actual screenshot from the Kickstarter.
Yeah, pull up. Oh no. At least she's not blushing. I feel like that would be the only worse option than just having wide eyes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely worse options, Jordan.
I guess. Yeah. I guess that's true.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at this sick story. 20 years ago, Crown Island was ruled by sadistic monster philosopher kings, and somewhere between man and beast, they used dark magic to inflict suffering and exert their tyranny.
Is this just the one evil kid from, like, Digimon?
Yeah, young men and women rose up, overthrowing the philosopher kings for the people, and now a dangerous young woman named Beth threatens to revive the kings and restore them to their thrones. Travel across the island with your monster companions to put an end to the dark underground plot and reveal the prevent the return of tyranny. There comes a day in each hero's journey where they must choose who to side with. Will your decision make you a savior or a dark messiah? Only time will tell. Oh, what?
Edgy.
Uber edgy.
It is edgy, but it's like not trying to be anything but, at least. From what I understand, it embraces it in a way that doesn't feel cringe like half of the Fakemon games that go edgy do. Like it's not like your parents are dead and your character says the F word. They're pretty cool.
That's the F word.
It's just like the setting is kind of darker and like the plot is kind of darker, but the game's rated teen as a result. Like it's not like something that they're like trying to make it look like it would be an E-rated game, but then they're also like, I said the fuck word.
Right.
That makes me a cool character.
Made by like just 2 nerds with music and some other nerds to make the music. Yeah. Well, there you go. And I say 2 nerds because they literally describe themselves as meet the nerds, don't steal our lunch money.
I would hope that they describe themselves as nerds. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. But hey, it looks good. It looks it looks good. Like I'm looking at like the title art, like the
the cover art for it and like with like the title and everything is amazing. It is beautiful.
Yeah. That is like straight up classic Pokemon.
Like legit, I wanted to get the physical copy when I found out it was on sale because I wanted to have that box art. Just like I wanted to have that. It's fantastic. So good. Yeah. But it's sold out already on Amazon. It was just gone. Like I mean it's definitely a more limited release, but like I saw like 10 minutes after it went live and it sold out on Amazon. Like it's crazy.
Well, good for them, yeah. I mean,
I'm definitely getting it on the Switch. Like, if I can't get a copy, like a physical copy, by the time it comes out, like if they don't have more that come up, I'm just gonna get it digitally. but I'm 100% getting it because I'm really curious to like play around with its breeding systems and just I've heard pretty much exclusively good things about the game itself, so it just seems like it would be fun to see what it's like. But I have just successfully made it through that world of this game, so now I'm in the fun place. Look at it, it's so fun. It's definitely not hell. There's no more water. That's okay. But so with that, I'm probably gonna end today's stream here, and by probably I mean I will. So thank you so much if you joined me live or after the fact. Either way is cool with me as long as you had some fun. That said, I'm gonna go do human things as humans do, and you should too. Yeah, do human things. Unless you're not a human, then like don't worry about it. Or like maybe you're a human, and you like doing non-human things,
Look,
like, and that's fine too.
If you're a cat watching the stream, try doing some human things just for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, you know, and if you're human, try doing some like non-human things. You know, play around with it.
Try doing some cat things.
You know, maybe I don't know, pony play a little or something. I don't know.
Yeah, make some meow noises at people.
Go wolf.
See how they react.
Yell, "I'm the alpha," and howl at someone.
Wolves do that.
Are you sure?
I mean, I'm not an expert. I honestly, I haven't spent that much time around wolves. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but
I've spent times around wolves a little bit. My mom spent more time with wolves, so I can ask my mom if they ever yell at people, "I'm the alpha," and then go, "Ow."
You know what? That makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, thanks.